Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
Police are investigating just what caused the auditorium in Gyeongju to collapse, killing 10 people, and questions are being raised as to whether snow is to blame or human error is involved in that the heavy snow was left unremoved from the rooftop of the collapsed structure.
It was tears of joy this time as we take a look at the gold medal finish by the South Korea women's short track team.
And the government motions to ease competitions at schools. Will tell you what that is on In Print.
And the two Koreas will hold family reunions tomorrow. Hear the stories about the separated family members that have been counting down the days for the reunions and those who are still hoping to meet their loved ones one day.
Instead of cramped, dirty, and restraining pens and cages, more farms are offering open, spacious, eco-friendly, and humane environments for livestock. We look at farms for animal welfare. And it's the largest wholesale market for clothes in the country. We take you to Pyeonghwa Market, which carries more than 50 years of history in the country's fashion industry. On Wednesday, February 19th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on our Wednesday edition of Korea Today.
Thank you for tuning in. Did you see the match last night? It was gripping.
Gripping. I mean, name all the adjectives that you can, but it was an awesome
That's
match.
right. It was a night of excitement and celebration for Koreans nationwide as they witnessed their national team grab a second gold in the women's 3,000-meter short track relay. Team Korea managed to turn the tables in the final lap just a few meters before the finish line as last runner Shim Seok-hee boldly overtook rivals on the outside, securing the gold for Korea. Defending champions China came in second but were later penalized, losing the silver to Canada and the bronze to the Italian team who fell out of contention. It was a moment of redemption for the Korean team who came in first in 2010 in the Vancouver Games but was later disqualified for impeding the Chinese team. This time, the quartet of Cho Hae-ri, Kim Ah-rang, Park Seung-hee, and Shim Seok-hee finished the 27-lap race in 4 minutes, 9.498 seconds.
And investigations are ongoing to determine just what caused the deadly collapse of an auditorium roof in Southeast Korea that left 10 young people dead and more than 100 injured. Several factors have been identified, and although heavy snow piled up on the roof seems to be the most likely reason for the collapse, the structural integrity of the prefab building, as well as lax safety and maintenance measures, have been called into question. Reports say the building had not undergone any outside safety checks since it was built, and the materials it was built from meant it was not suitable to be used as an auditorium. The area had received record snowfall over the past week, and heavy snow had remained on the roof for days. And the Korean government will officially lay out President Park's 3-year economic innovation plan next week. At a press briefing Tuesday, Presidential Office spokesperson Min Kyung-wook said the announcement will be made at an economic ministers meeting next Tuesday to coincide with the first anniversary of President Park's inauguration. The president's plan will focus on revamping debt-ridden public organizations, streamlining regulations, and nurturing promising industries in the service sector. And it also contain measures to boost the number of women and young people in the workforce and ease the financial burden of private education.
Amid icy relations between Korea and Japan, officials from the two countries sat down Tuesday in what appears to be an attempt to thaw bilateral relations strained over disputes involving historical and territorial issues. Director General of the Northeast Asian Affairs Bureau in Seoul's Foreign Ministry, Mr. Lee Sang-duk, met with his Japanese counterpart Junichi Ihara and discussed issues of mutual concern. The Seoul official is said to have expressed concerns over what it perceives as Japan's distorted view of history and called on Tokyo to take concrete steps to address the matter. This was the first meeting between Director General level officials from the two countries since Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited the controversial war shrine, angering both Seoul and Beijing. The Korean Foreign Ministry played down the significance of Ihara's visit, saying it was a simple introductory meeting between him and his Korean counterpart Lee, who took his post just last month.
And happy Wednesday, everyone. Time for a look through your newspaper headlines. The story blanketing our front pages today is the emotional gold medal win by Korea's short track skaters that handed joy to many Koreans last night. We'll go ahead and take a look at the story on the front page of 동아일보. And the headline reads, "It was a tough struggle. Let it all out." And from left to right are Cho Hae-ri, Park Seung-hee, Kim Ha-rang, and Shim Seok-hee, members of Team Korea's 3,000-meter relay team that overtook their rivals to hand their country the top spot after 8 years. And those tears represent many pains, the caption explains. It comes as Korea's Skating Association has come under fire for allegations of factionalism and unfairness, and as the skaters themselves missed the top honors in their individual events. And of course, this good news does come as the country is still reeling from other news, that news of the structural collapse at a resort in Gyeongju that claimed 10 lives, most of them college students, and left some 105 hurt. Go ahead and take a look at this headline on 중앙일보, and the headline reads, 1994, where Korea's safety still stands. And the insert that you saw just now has the paper comparing Monday's deadly accident to a bridge collapse 20 years ago that had claimed the lives of 32 high school girls. 중앙일보 says the sense of vigilance for safety has not changed much in those years, as the auditorium collapse shows. Despite the 60 centimeters of snow that had fallen in the region, the managers of the resort had allowed the freshman orientation to take place without clearing the snow that had collected on top of that structure, which later was found to be constructed of sandwich panels without pillars. And on that note, let's go ahead and scoot on over to 조선일보, which treats the same story as its top with the headline, "The Tragedy of a Society Lacking Principle." And the image shows a shot of the roof from above that collapsed on the students on Monday night. As you can see, it's just caved in there. The paper's subheadline adds that there were warning signs. Similar structures in neighboring Ulsan had collapsed under the weight of the wet snow, but the resort did not take notice enough to go ahead and clear that snow. Next up is Gyeongyang Shinmun, and as you can see, it treats Sochi news as its top as well, calling the 3,000-meter relay the miracle of half a lap. Our sports guy SJ Lee will be around shortly to explain that for you. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and take a look at the headline below, which has an update on Gyeongyang's story from Monday. Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se says we did not officially request documents from China, denies prosecution assertion, referring to the prosecutor's investigation into a Seoul city official who they believe served as a spy for North Korea. The subheadline adds that the prosecution opened its own probe yesterday into the related charge from China that the prosecution submitted fabricated documents as part of its request for evidence. Now, let's go ahead and wrap things up with a look at our business daily for today. It's a little bit of a different story today, not a business story, that is. The headline reads, "Studying ahead to be banned at schools." This as a related committee at the National Assembly passed a bill yesterday that would ban not only middle and high schools, but also universities from requiring additional study outside of the national curriculum. This plan does come as concerns have been brewing that public education was collapsing, as was the competitive levels between the haves and the have-nots due to this outside education. Now with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Wednesday. Next up are your closing numbers from Tuesday's market action.
And time now to get a check on the weather with our Lee, who joins us from outdoors.
And it's almost safe to say that spring is near, but we'll
Is it safe to say?
I hope it's safe to say. We'll get a check on that, whether it is safe to say with Lee. Tommy, is it safe to say that spring is near?
Is spring here, Tommy?
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm reporting live from Jongno-gu, Seoul. According to the lunar calendar here in Korea, today is Usu, which is when the spring rain falls and the plants begin to bud. But today, this morning here in Seoul, conditions, we're starting off with clear skies, no clouds to be found right now. And the temperatures are still a bit on the chilly side. It is minus 1.7 degrees Celsius. But later, our daytime highs, thankfully, will be on the mild side as temperatures will rise to 5 degrees. Now, as of now, the heavy snow alerts and watches have all been lifted. As for Gangwon-do Province and Jeju Island, there may be signs of sporadic showers or snowfall today. As for the Yeongdong region, which is in the east part of Gangwon-do Province, they will be taking a break from the snow today, but tomorrow there will be some snowfall up until Friday. As for the rest of the peninsula, we will be seeing mild and clear conditions throughout this week. Let's now take a look at the temperatures for today around the peninsula. Seoul's highs are at 5, Daejeon and Busan at 7, Daegu and Jeju at 6, Gangneung the coolest at 2, Gwangju the warmest at 8 degrees. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Just last week, North Korea canceled its invitation for Robert King, a senior U.S. envoy, to visit the country to discuss the possible release of Kenneth, an American citizen detained in the north.
While Robert King was turned away, Pyongyang did receive another U.S. delegation led by former U.S. Ambassador to South Korea, Gregg, and accompanying him was former U.S. Congressman Pete McCloskey. And we have him joining on the line this morning from San Francisco. Good morning, or good afternoon in your case.
Good afternoon.
Now, details about your trip are still sketchy. Maybe you can shed some light on how this trip came to be and what was on your agenda.
Well, the trip was initiated about 6 weeks ago and put together with a delegation by Ambassador Gregg, who was the former ambassador to South Korea back under the George Bush administration in the early 1990s. And we went as a delegation essentially on trade matters, but we had hoped to get the release of Kenneth as well.
Now, as you made your way to North Korea, there was a lot of speculation, as you mentioned, Kenneth, that the delegation might be able to negotiate that release, that talk about Kenneth. Now, did you feel like it was a possibility going into it or going to Pyongyang?
Well, we thought there was a chance a month ago, but when we went to Seoul, and when we reached Pyongyang, the B-52s were flying overhead, and essentially the North Koreans were very polite and very courteous, but they essentially told us we can't talk about the release of Kenneth or the release of the remains that are buried in North Korea with those B-52s flying over us. They had a pretty good recollection of what our U.S. bombers had done to North Korea during the war, and they were concerned that the B-52s represented a military threat, and they weren't about to discuss the release of Kenneth while those planes were up there.
Mm-hmm. Now, a UN panel released a report on Monday with some very strong words for North Korea on its human rights track record. Now, do you think this kind of global attention can help secure Bay's release in the future, or do you think, what kind of an effect do you think it'll have, Mr. McCloskey?
Well, I think the stories about the human rights violations are certainly true in past years. It had been our hope that Kim Jong-un would have a more enlightened administration, and our impression was when we were in Pyongyang that they are trying to get their act together. They're trying to get into the family of nations and be respected by the United States and other countries. The story of their criminal actions, which I'm only too aware of in North Korea, is sort of typical of new governments. Stalin in Russia massacred millions of people in those early years, but as North Korea matures, it's our hope that they'll give up those practices and that we can get Kenneth back.
You mentioned in an interview after your trip that you believe that North Korea wants a better relationship with the U.S. Now, what was the general sense or the mood that you got when you paid a visit to that country?
Well, frankly, they're diplomats and they're very able people and they're intelligent people. Felt that they had given up on the United States because we have been so harsh in refusing to talk to them over the last few years. And until we can open up a dialogue with them, I think they have given up on us as a means of establishing better relations with South Korea. But they clearly would like to establish better relations with South Korea. They just think the U.S. has been too tough on them in that process.
I see. Interesting conversation there. Now, lastly, a little bit of a personal story. Having fought in the Korean War yourself and meeting a retired North Korean lieutenant general from that war during your visit this time, I believe, I'm sure a lot of emotions went through your mind. Now, please share with us that experience and perhaps what kind of future you envision for the two Koreas.
Well, it was a marvelous meeting. I had asked to meet with one of the young 17-year-olds who fought against us in 1951. These weren't the professionals that had fought in Manchuria under Kang Il-jim. These were young kids who'd been impressed in service after we had defeated them and driven north to the Yalu. And I wanted to compliment them and pay my respects because they fought very bravely, as did the South Korean soldiers. But the North Koreans, we had much better weapons. We had air power and artillery, and we had napalm. And they fought very bravely against us. And I came to respect both them and the young Chinese soldiers. And I told this to this man. He'd been a 17-year-old machine gunner in the 1st North Korean Division. He knew the two places where I'd been wounded. He'd been wounded 3 times, and we saluted each other and exchanged handshakes. And the last things we said were, we hope that our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will never have to fight in a war. And he couldn't agree more with that. It's my impression that most people in both North and South Korea want the two Koreas to reconcile. It's certainly in the U.S. interests if the two Koreas can live peacefully. I don't think that being reunited is going to be in the picture. The Chinese, of course, prevented that in 1950 when they entered the war. But if the two Koreas can live in peace and North Korea can become prosperous as South Korea has become, then possibly we can have peace and never again have a war in that part of the world. That's our hope.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that heartwarming story. And we certainly do hope that peace is here on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you for speaking with us this morning.
My pleasure. As I said again, I hope for peace in your peninsula. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. That was Pete McCloskey, former congressman, joining us on the line from San Francisco. Right, about 9 o'clock here in Seoul, Korea time, we were watching this great match between the South Korean speed skate, or actually short track team, and that yielded the very first gold in short track. SJ has an analysis on that. Good morning, SJ.
As I always say, golden Wednesday morning to you guys.
All right.
Now, obviously because of the wait, right? It took 11 days of competition for Korea to finally win that gold medal in short track. We had the bronze medal, of course, by Park Seung-yeon. We had the silver medal by Shim Seok-ki. But I think because we had to wait so long, it was that much sweeter. And we saw the tears of joy. But I think if you watch the race in itself, all that happened in the final 2 laps of the race. And if you watch the race with 2 laps to go, there was an interference by one of the Chinese skaters who got in the way of Shim Seok-ki, but she was still able to turn her motors and still finish first. Now, China did get penalized for the interference, and Canada won the silver, followed by Italy with the bronze medal.
And during the medal ceremony, we were able to see that all 5 of the speed skaters, the short track skaters, were on the podium as well to share the glory.
That's right. Now, obviously, during the finals, there was 4 skaters who participated in the relay race. But actually, Kong Sang-jung, she was actually able to, participate in the semifinals in place of Kim Ah-rang, who the coach thought maybe like her conditioning wasn't too good, and he was going to save her for the finals. So not only did we see 4 people on the podium, we were able to see 5. All 5 of the short track stars actually get the gold medal. So it was good news for all 5 of them.
All right, so congratulations to the short track relay team. But another competition that was, I think, in need of attention was Lee Seung-hoon for the 10,000 meter.
That's right.
You know, it hasn't been a great Olympics for the men's side. Obviously, we saw Lee Sang-hwa win the 500 meter gold medal there over on the women's side, but Mo Tae-bum struggled a little bit, and also Lee Seung-hoon over on the 5,000 meter. But overall, it was Lee Seung-hoon's chance at trying to win his second straight 10,000 meter gold. Unfortunately for him, he did fall just short. And just like the 5,000 meter event, fatigue hits the South Korean speed skater later in the race as he drops down to 4th place after coming in at a final time of 13 minutes, 11.68 seconds. And once again, the Netherlands proved to be the powerhouse in the sport as 3 Dutch skaters finished on the podium, including Joy Bergsma, who actually finished with a new Olympic record time of 12 minutes, 44.45 seconds for the gold, followed by Sven Kramer and Bob De Jong.
And we've waited long enough for Kim Yeon-na, right? I think.
That's right.
The time is near.
Time is near, and we still have to wait a little bit. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been waiting for this, not just here in Korea, but worldwide. And I think for all the fans here in Korea, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to lose a lot of sleep because of this. Of course, the event kicking off at 7 p.m. Sochi time. Fans in Korea will be up at midnight to catch the short program as she's set to go 5th in Group 3. And for Kim Yeon-na, she's looking to add a 2nd consecutive gold medal in the event. And fans will actually have to wait until 9:24 p.m. Sochi time or 2:24 a.m. Thursday morning Korea time.
Wow.
That's around our wake-up time, so maybe we'll be able to catch that.
Let's just set our alarms a little bit earlier and we'll come to the office.
Miss it, so.
I will be. But of course, before we do wrap up, let's finally take a look at the current medal count after 11 days of competition at the Sochi Winter Games. And of course, if you take a look here, we see that Germany is still on top here with 8 gold medals. Norway climbing up there now with second with 7 gold medals, with the Netherlands flying high with 6 gold medals. Now Russia do drop down a bit to 5th after a day, and Korea do move up a few spots to 15th overall with 2 gold medals in Sochi.
All right, sounds like we moved up a notch or so, but we have some events that we're going to be looking forward to. We'll take a look at that. Thank you, SJ, for that report and the analysis.
Always a pleasure, guys.
The much anticipated and the much delayed family reunions will take place starting tomorrow. Families from South and North Korea will be meeting for the first time in 3 years and 4 months since October 2010. And reporter Kim Chan-ju has more on their stories. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. For most of the separated families waiting for the reunions, there is a sense of deep desperation in a way that this might be their last chance to see their families. But there are also thousands of internally displaced people in the country that did not get selected this time around. So I went out to find out more.
이거 새로 산 건데 남동생의 아들 주려고. 젊은이니까 색깔에 난 까만 거 있으니까.
84-year-old Kim Se-rin has been picked as one of the members to attend the inter-Korean family reunions scheduled for tomorrow. It has been 63 years since Kim left his hometown in North Korea in Hwanghae-do province. He has been spending many restless nights thinking about his younger sister as well as the son of his younger brother.
500명 중에 당첨이 됐습니다. 그것도 겨우 당첨이 된 거지. 추첨했더라고. 나 추첨 잘 안 되거든. 복권이 뭐 추첨 이거 안 돼요. 그래서 내 생각엔 90까지만 살면 한 번 만나겠다 했는데 만나게 되는 거지.
The selected members are still anxious as they wait for the day of the reunions. For this year's inter-Korean family reunions, 83 members from the south and 88 from the north are set to meet. Out of concern that the event may suddenly be called off, many are calling the Korean Red Cross for reassurance.
저희도 기다려 보는 수밖에 없습니다. 예, 마음 비우시고 좀 기다려 보십시오. 좋은 소식이 있을 거예요. 그리고 이제
I realize that as I speak to people on the phone, those who actually should be meeting their families have passed away, and it's their children calling.
According to last year's family reunion application records, some 128,000 people have registered as separated families, but 55,000 people have passed away before meeting their families. Things are also difficult for surviving members since the majority of them are over 80 years old. If their health deteriorates, it may not be possible for them to meet their loved ones before they die. This is a village in Gangneung, Gangwon-do province where many people who once called North Korea home live together. Many residents here say they have given up on applying for the family reunions.
가면 뭐해? 줄은 다 서야 돼. 재수가 있어야 비는데 여기 갔다가 절로 뛰어넘어가잖아. 안 되는 거야.
Since the country was divided, there have been 18 rounds of inter-Korean family reunions, with the first being held in September 1985. But not one person in this village has made it onto the list. When choosing members for the reunions, the priority goes to the older applicants and those with immediate family. 500 people are selected and eventually 100 people are picked as final members after confirming the loved ones they seek are alive. There is only a 0.68% chance to be selected in the 500-member pool, and to make the final 100-member cut, the probability of success is 1 in 1,000.
우리 같은 사람은 해봐야 안 돼. 아바이 마을에서 한 사람 이때까지 한 사람 갔다 왔는데 가지도 못하고 하니까 다 내 알아서는 안 했어. 안 한 것 같아.
Ham Jae-chun is 90 years old this year. The lower half of his body was paralyzed 3 years ago. Even if he were chosen to go, he wouldn't be able to physically make it.
걸어야 가지요. 원체 걸지를 못할까. 이 여기 좀 소변 보려도 나가려고 해야 되면 이 뒤에 이래 있고 말이요. 이래 나가지요.
할아버지 때문에 내가 어디 뭐 하루도 먹고 가는 게. 근데 요새는 이래 보니까 나는 만난다 하면 만날 것 같은데 나는 오라면 갈 것 같아.
Hundreds of thousands of separated family members are unable to confirm whether their loved ones are alive. Many experts say the issue should be approached from various angles in order to help them relieve this pain.
How could these families be separated for over 60 years without knowing if they're alive or dead? We believe this problem needs to be addressed from a human rights perspective.
Various Red Cross and international organizations could play the role of bringing the separated families together. There should be a number of channels and diverse approaches for these families to communicate with each other on a regular basis.
Now, it's very unfortunate that many of these families don't even know whether their relatives are alive or dead. Now, President Park Geun-hye did mention something about fixing the situation or several options.
That's right. There was a cabinet meeting held yesterday, and President Park emphasized that the two Koreas need to cooperate each other in order to hold more of these events in the future. And Park also said that this issue should be solved in various angles, and she suggested a number of things. And she suggested that all the separated families should be verified if they're still alive or dead. And, the separated families should be able to exchange letters freely. And also she suggested that Mount Kumgang should be utilized as a family meeting point at any time they want.
As for the gentleman that we saw in the report who couldn't take part in this round because he can't walk, the video family reunions are still an option, right?
That's right. The video center was established in 2005, and since then there have been 7 rounds of reunions through the video meeting, but The center could not carry the video meeting due to strained relations between the South and North. But if this reunion is successful, South and North Korean relations is expected to ride this momentum. And also the government plans to push it for members of separated families to regularly have the video meetings in the future if it is successful this time.
Okay, well, it's good to know that a lot of different options are being researched and trying to get things going. Now, but tomorrow is the 20th. Now, tomorrow is the first day that the talks will, or actually the reunions will take place. Now, the first round of families that are taking part in these reunions, they'll be meeting in Sokcho at 2 p.m., I believe, and we'll spend a night there and then head down to Mount Kumgang.
That's right. So 83 members of South Korean separated family members will be meeting in Gangwon-do province in Sokcho, along with their 180 relatives. And since 83% of the selected members are 80 years or older, the government plans to run a health check on each of them. And also they will be dispatching 12 members of a medical team as well as an ambulance just in case. So everything is prepared to go, and tomorrow the members will cross border to meet their loved ones.
Yeah. Many people will be in their tears, I'm sure. Thank you for covering this story for us, Tenju. All right, still ahead on Korea Today, we're going to look at some sterilization appliances because germs and bacteria are all over us, especially this winter with the flu season. And in order to prevent catching the flu, you need more than just soap. We have some of the latest sterilization products on hot items that will keep harmful substances at bay.
Since the avian flu outbreak, 4 million poultry have been culled. Many are calling for measures to prevent diseases like foot and mouth, as well as avian influenza and others. And they're looking for ways to transform the livestock industry in itself, the way they raise the livestock. Simon O joins us with more. Good morning.
Good morning, you guys. Now, even if you are a meat lover, as I am, you may have had occasion to think about the farming conditions or the various food processing methods used to prepare food such as meat or poultry, dairy, or eggs. Now, sadly, unsanitary or overcrowded farming conditions can lead to the outbreak of various epidemic diseases, which are harmful not only to human beings, but to the environment as well. I've taken a closer look at why we need healthier farming environments, as well as some of the improvements that are currently being made. Here's more. This is a cattle farm in Hwasong, Gyeonggi-do province. The cows seem peaceful living in this spacious cattle shed. When you think of a farm, this is what many of you may likely imagine. But in reality, environments like these are far from common. Twice a day, in the morning and afternoon, the automated feed dispensers provide organic feed with grains and hay. The amount is always sufficient. The dairy cows roam freely and eat when they choose to. When they're ready, the cows go into the robotic milking machine by their own accord. By pumping milk only when the cows themselves want, this farm minimizes stress on the animals. It is a so-called animal welfare farm.
We have installed automated milking machines so that the cows can pump milk whenever they want. We only pump milk when the cows want to, so they are free from stress caused by irregular milking schedules. They also produce more milk than they used to.
The animal welfare farm is an alternative farming practice different from previous factory farming methods, in which livestock are raised in tight, unhygienic spaces waiting to be slaughtered, and administering antibiotics is the only way to prevent contagious diseases.
If animals are over-injected with antibiotics, traces of it will be found in the milk and meat products of these livestock. So humans that consume these products will grow a tolerance to antibiotics. This means when they get sick, they will not react to standard dosage of antibiotic administration.
6 tons of grain are needed in order to produce 1 ton of meat. Consequently, 1/3 of the world's grains is used to feed livestock and to keep up with demand. About 70% of the Amazon's rainforest is being destroyed to create farmlands. Factory farming is not only harmful to animals, but human beings and the environment as well. As consumers become more and more conscious of where their food comes from, the food industry is taking steps to supply healthy meat and dairy products. In 2007, an organic food company started to accredit animal welfare farms. Although the products are slightly pricey, more and more consumers are seeking safer and healthier options.
Because there have been so many problems with food products, I've only been buying trustworthy organic produce. What we eat is important, right? Although it costs a bit more, I want to feed my children clean and trustworthy products.
This is a pig farm in Yesan, Chungcheongnam-do province. By now, you can tell why this is a rare and special setting. These pigs are allowed to move around, walk, and run freely within their spacious pen. This farm allocates more than twice the space of a sow stall to each pig. The automated feed dispenser checks the health and type of each individual pig through a sensor attached to the pig's ear. This way, the dispenser can automatically provide an accurate amount of feed to each individual animal. This pig farm operates under a strict no antibiotic, no hormone, and no sow stall policy. And in 2006, it became the first government-accredited organic pig farm in Korea.
We only use non-GMO feed grains that have not been contaminated by pesticides or antibiotics, because eventually humans will be consuming these products. We raise our animals 100% organically.
Healthy livestock, raised in cleaner farming conditions, free of animal abuse. Animal welfare farms are becoming the new global trend for humane treatment of animals, and in the end, they'll also benefit consumers and the environment.
Many people say, why does it matter how you raise the animals if you are going to slaughter them anyway? But the health of our livestock directly affects human health, so the environment in which you raise them is very important.
Right, so apparently chicken are raised on farms and they get no more than this piece of paper to live in for the rest of their lives.
That's right.
So the amount of stress that these chickens are grown under, it has to affect the eggs that they produce as well. And I see you've brought a couple of eggs for us.
Yes, it's a very clear demonstration. On the left, we have an egg from an accredited poultry farm with humane conditions. And on the right, a more conventional egg. Now, straight away, we can see a difference in the sheen of the yolks. The yolk from the accredited farm is much more appetizing. A few minutes ago, I took the liberty of poking these yolks with a couple of toothpicks. And as you can see, the conventional egg has already gotten loose and rather unappetizing, whereas the healthier, humane egg still remains quite firm despite my best attempts to loosen the yolk.
Okay, now we see that right there. You see that
Still
membrane
intact,
is still very much
right.
intact.
Right, and it's not just the visuals either. In fact, there's a very big difference in terms of the nutritional value of these eggs. Now, I'm told that the farm fresh eggs, which are grown under humane conditions, have as much as twice the amount of vitamins and up to 3.8 times the beta-carotene content, which of course has been shown to improve the human immune system.
So what looks good is also good for you too as well, I suppose. And the global farming industry seemed to be moving away from this mass factory-like farming trend, and also just moving to becoming more eco-friendly as well. Now, what is the Korean government doing about this?
You're correct. That's a trend that is happening. Now, back in 2001, following the spread of foot and mouth disease in the UK and across Europe, the EU implemented policies to ban poultry cage farming as well as SEOUL farming of pigs. Now, here in Korea, back in 2012, Korea implemented a certification policy for poultry farms, and currently there are as many as 46 farms that have undergone certification. Just last month, talks were begun regarding pig farms, which will hopefully also use similarly humane conditions. And the government hopes that in the near future, these policies will also expand to healthy cattle and dairy farms as well.
All right, not only eco-friendly and also healthier for us as well as the environment, but humane. I think that's also the key word there too.
That's right.
Simon, thank you for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
And still ahead on Korea Today, find out about one of Korea's oldest clothing markets. We're talking about wholesale, a tour around Pyeonghwa Market, known as the hub of Korea's clothes industry for half a century. From manufacturing to distribution, the market has managed to offer affordable prices for many years. We take a spin around the heart of fashion.
The influenza virus is making a round across the country these days. It's especially important to pay special attention to personal hygiene. And this morning, Angela Park joins us with some sterilization appliances. Good morning.
Good morning. You pretty much nailed it. Right now, it's cold flu season. Everything's going around. So people will take extra caution to, let's say, for example, wash their hands. But then you touch something that's not sterilized and covered with germs, it almost defeats the purpose.
Especially parents are especially worried about germs that are all over us. So take us to our first item, please.
All right, so we have 3 products. The first one, I'm going to take you back here. This is called the Self Clean. This is by Chungsu Global. Now, at
what
first glance,
exactly, it looks mysterious.
That's the first question. If I open it up, though, you may get a better idea. Would you mind holding that door for me, Minjung? Now, if you look, it kind of almost looks like a laundry rack, but there are
there are books inside.
It's a book sterilizer.
Wow.
Now, think about it. Books, especially ones that sit on the bookshelves for a long time, they collect not only just dust, but there may be bookworms, dust mites, germs on, especially because, we like do this and then flip the page,
and your hands are supposed to be the dirtiest of your body. So, and you touch your books with your hands, so you have to sterilize them, I guess. It makes sense.
Now, if you notice, actually, I'm going to take this book. It's big enough where it can even fit children's book, because children's book tend to be bigger, about 50 centimeters, so is the limit there, so it can hold even bigger children's book. But let me show you how to work it. You just open it up just about to the middle of the book and hang it on one of these racks here. It can fit up to 6 books, right?
What happens now?
And then I'm going to shut the door and turn it on. So if you notice here, it takes 30 seconds to disinfect or sterilize a book. But obviously, if you put more, you may want to up the time, kind of using your own discretion.
Okay,
so there's a minute. You press start.
So you just put 10 minutes just now.
Oh, 1 minute.
1 minute. I
see.
Okay.
And then the start button, and then you notice.
I like how the pages are turning a little bit. And
right, let me show you
exactly.
There's fans here. There's like a little rotator pinwheel sort of that are blowing up air so that each page, because think about it, you only sterilize the cover. What about the pages? So it especially emphasizes the corners where fingers are touching, like we mentioned. Also, the fan in here, it's only about 20 decibels, which is actually the standard for like a quiet library. So it's really not that
noisy too. And I'm also guilty of that, turning the pages with my saliva from time to time. So this would help disinfect that saliva as well. Okay, take us to our second item, please.
Okay, let's move back here. This is the second item, and this one also may kind of look, what is this, right? Type of a device. This is called the CC Zone. I'm going to make my way to the front here, and if you notice, there are cell phones that are plugged in. Now, this is from Del Pino. Now, what this does, cell phones actually, believe it or not, are 10 times dirtier than toilets.
Ooh, really?
That is how dirty our cell phones get.
I think twice about calling people so frequently now.
Exactly. So, you don't have to worry about that if you sterilize it, right? So 5 minutes is all it takes. 5 minutes will completely disinfect your smartphone, and it doubles as a phone charger. So you take your cell phone, And then you take the little plugging device, and all you got to do is, of course, plug it in.
So it's like catching two birds with one stone. You sterilize and then you recharge at the same time.
Exactly. If you shut the door, it immediately turns on. You see the light turning on there, so that means it's working or functioning. Like I said, 5 minutes. But Minjo, I know a lot of people worry about UV rays, you know, it's bad for you. Of course, it sterilizes and kills germs, but just as powerful as it kills the germs, it may not be good for us, right? So the second you close the door, the second you open the door, the UV rays will actually shut off, so it doesn't, you know, hurt humans or people. Not to mention, after 5 minutes, it automatically shuts off. So your cell phone isn't exposed to those UV rays for like a long period of time.
All right, so pretty neat, this stuff. And what's our next item? What are these funny looking, I guess it looks like some type of a water.
I know, I'm making you tea.
Okay, thank you.
No,
I like
no.
that.
This is called the CareSOUL. Now, this is CareSOUL for Tech for Us, or from Tech for Us, and it basically takes water and it ionizes, it makes ionized water molecules through a process called electrolysis. Now, once those water molecules or ionized water molecules are formed, it means that it's good for sterilization. It kills bacteria, fungi, germs, things like that.
Can I smell this?
You can smell it. We're actually going to use that to make it. I'm going to show you how to make sterilized water for sterilization purposes. So it's really easy. You just take off the lid, get some water.
Okay, tap water, bottled water.
Doesn't matter, just water, because we're going to ionize it anyway, right?
Okay.
And then for the face, there's 3 modes. I'm going to explain that in more detail. But for the sterilization mode, you need 0.3 grams of salt, because as we know, salt plays a great role in disinfecting.
Any type of salt again?
Refined salt.
Okay.
And so 0.3 is good for sterilization. If you want like more heavy duty for example, washing purposes, you're going to use 1 gram. But there you go. You put the salt in. And then you put the lid on. This is the part I'm kind of worried about because it does gets jammed. I have bad luck with this. Okay, so
pink.
Now there are 3 modes here. This is on the face mode right now. We don't want that. We want the middle one, which is sterilization. The last one is washing.
And the face mode is for something to I guess, the water to wash your face with?
Yeah, the water, you can put it in like a little spray bottle like so. And then you can, of course, mist it on your face. It can fight like, you know, eczema or other skin conditions. And it's very refreshing.
Can I try while we wait for this thing to work? Okay, so in the winter it gets so dry too.
Right.
So, nice mist. And then my face is sterilized. So all the more
You're clean.
Right.
So if you notice, it started the ionization process. It lit up like this, and like I said, 3 minutes.
It's quite beautiful too.
It is kind of nice, right? So we're gonna take the batch that I already made before the show, and then you can pump it or a little bit to give it pressure, and then this bottle becomes immediately a convenient device
like a
to
teapot.
to just spray it. So it comes with a diffuser nozzle right here, right? So for example, if I take the glasses to clean, right?
Because the glasses are pretty dirty with fingerprints all over the lens.
Exactly. So I'm going to open it up and then just spray a little bit of water on it. See how I did that? The washing function, remember I said is a little bit more heavy duty. Washing function, you can take the nozzle and take it out to, let's say, for example, balconies or toilets and just, you know, spray it on the toilet and then start wiping away. So it makes it very easy for heavy duty.
Very nice what you brought for us today to make all things germ-free around us. Thank you, Angela, for all of these products.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're going to go back to Lee Dami, who is joining us from a place where you can experience and feel and learn more about one of Korea's oldest religions. Dami, over to you.
So I'm back reporting live from Chongno-gu, Seoul, near the Jokesa Temple, where the Korean Buddhism History and Culture Memorial Hall is located. Now, last month, from January 20th to the 25th, the Korean Buddhist culture industry held the 6th Buddhist Design Competition. in order to discover excellent originality of Buddhist culture and to promote people's interest in terms of Korean Buddhist culture and temple stay. So there were a total of 249 teams and 552 works that were registered. Later at 2:30 p.m. there will be an award ceremony that will be taking place. So right now we're taking a look at some of the pieces that will be honored with an award. Now this year's contest was divided into two categories. One was for the professional field and the other was for the general public. Right now I'm going to show you the grand prize winners, one from each category. This is by 정기란 called 마음 열다, 사천왕 paper toy or open heart for 4 heavenly guardians. And this one right here is the grand prize winner of the professional field by 성외순 called 연화 등잔, which is a lotus lamp. So this year's competition is to promote national and international international interest in the Korea's Buddhism culture. So for those of you that are interested, the artwork will be displayed until the end of March, so you should definitely come on by. That's all I have for now. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
Thank you very much, Dami. That was a look at one of the oldest religions in Korea, where you can experience all that. Now, Peter Bint joins us to talk about one of the oldest marketplaces, wholesale marketplaces in Korea.
That's
Good morning,
right.
Peter.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so it's none other than a Dongdaemun fabrics and clothing market. I'm sure many people are familiar with the area, but the Pyeongwon market is 50 years old, and it's been a central hub of this trendy clothing area for the whole time. So let's take a closer look and learn more about Korea's largest wholesale clothing market. In Seoul's Uljido-Yukka is Pyeongwon Market, a symbol of the Dongdaemun fashion district. The market has an established infrastructure that allows all phases of garment manufacturing and distribution to be completed within 3 days. The most important phase is designing. There are 90 hat and clothing vendors at Pyeongwon Market, and all their products are created by designers. One of the market's leading products is its hats, and here you'll find more than 1,000 types. The reason why there's such a great variety is because the vendors operate their own design centers.
1,000 types?
Yes, I didn't know there were that many hats.
We run our design center to differentiate our store from all the others.
As soon as the designing is complete, the patterns are cut. Pyeongwon Market's long-serving garment maker, Kim Hee-suk, started working as a seamstress 25 years ago, but now does more elaborate work at the factory. As soon as an order comes in, patterns are cut and the sewing begins. This manufacturing process from the past still lives on here.
The Pyeongwon Market has a 50-year history. Before it was established, the Cheonggyecheon area was occupied by people from North Korea who crossed over to the south during the war, and they began selling handmade clothes.
Rather humble history with its humble beginning,
Yeah.
but look what they've turned it into.
Yeah, and with the construction of the market, manufacturing and distribution became systematic. Consumers trust this process and can even receive post-purchase services, so more the reason to shop at the Pyeongwon Market.
The after-service warranty system, right?
At night, newly finished goods are delivered. Delivery men use A-frames to transport the goods while there are no customers around. This service began with the birth of this market, and it's a unique sight only found here at the Dongdaemun district.
I mean, the use of those A-frames, they go back centuries.
Into the day, yeah.
There are no cargo elevators, so I use this A-frame to carry products on my back.
Wholesale and retail business became more active thanks to these delivery services. 11 p.m. is when the market's vendors find these new products at their doorsteps. And now it's time to open their stores for customers.
Stretching routine.
Morning exercises.
Yeah, it's late at night in this case, but this is a group stretching session for the vendors because vendors have odd hours working through the night and resting during the day. Pyeonghwa Market and the Chunggu Community Health Center began a project checking up on their health for the past 3 years.
Remember the 국민 체조 from National Gymnastics?
All in a single row, too.
And now that the stretching routine is over, vendors are busy getting ready to greet their customers. With the long history of the market, there are many regular customers who come not only from all corners of Korea, but also China, Japan, Taiwan, Russia, and other foreign countries.
The Pyeonghwa market offers great quality products at a low cost, so I come here often from Russia. I like that I can pick various products here and there at Pyeonghwa market. I really like that the market carries diverse designs and products.
There are over 2,070 stores selling clothes, hats, scarves, bags, and other garment-related products. The market was named Pyeonghwa, or Peace, to reflect hopes for a peaceful reunification. So how about a tour around Korea's largest clothing market with a half-century history?
You know, Peter, we would love to talk more, but we have to go shopping for those hats and those scarves and
it's
bags
so cheap
now.
in there, so please go.
That's right, buying in bulk, that's the place to go.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. All right, that's just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching.